Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On the occasion of the 5th International Day to Protect Education from Attack, we gather here today to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to safeguarding education as a fundamental human right, one that serves as a cornerstone for all other rights. Education is not just a pathway to the future we envision for our children. It is the very foundation upon which we can build a better world. In times of crisis, education becomes as essential as food and medicine. It is a lifeline that must be protected and prioritized in humanitarian response. Yet, tragically, education remains under relentless attack. Schools are bombed, teachers are murdered, and millions of children are robbed of the opportunity to learn. Behind each staggering statistic is a child, a dream, and a future cut short. Ladies and gentlemen, Qatar has always stood firm in its commitment to ensuring quality education for all, even in the most challenging of situations. We have proactively advanced the global education agenda through various platforms, including UNGA, UNESCO, and the Human Rights Council in Geneva. Qatar was also among the first to co-sign the Safe School Declaration and remains one of the staunchest advocates. Our efforts on the ground are not limited to easily accessible areas. We reach the most remote and conflict-ridden regions. Through institutions like Education Above All, founded by Her Highness Sheikh Moza bint Nasser, we have made significant strides. In collaboration with other international organizations, Education Above All has successfully provided quality education to more than 19 million children and youth affected by conflict and disaster around the world. But our mission is far from over. We remain committed to bringing even more children back into the classroom. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 years have passed since the adoption of the GA Resolution 74-75, which established this critical day. According to the Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack, approximately 6,000 attacks on education occurred in 2022 and 2023, a 20% increase from the previous 2 years. More than 10,000 students, teachers, and academics have been harmed, injured, or killed in these attacks. These figures are staggering. In the Gaza Strip alone, students at all levels are deprived from the right to education as a result of the Israeli occupation aggression, which constitute violations of international law, criminalizing attacks on educational facilities during conflicts. Now, nearly a year after this deliberate educational genocide, over 85% of schools in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed. Since the outbreak of the war on Gaza, 152 UNRWA schools housing forcibly displaced persons have been targeted by the occupation forces, killing more than 1,040 civilians in these facilities alone. In total, more than 564 schools in the Gaza Strip have been directly hit or damaged by Israeli attacks. More than 9,000 students, 500 teachers, and 100 university professors have been killed, and over 7,819 students and 756 teachers have been injured. And these numbers, unfortunately, continue to grow. At least 800,000 students are currently deprived of education in Gaza. And in Sudan, the number of violent attacks on schools and education has quadrupled since the conflict began. These incidents include air raids on schools, resulting in student deaths and injuries, as well as torture, kidnapping, sexual violence against students, and the occupation of schools by armed groups for military purposes. The ongoing conflict has disrupted the education of 19 million children, exacerbating economic decline and making Sudan one of the most critical hotspots for hunger. In heavily affected regions like Darfur, Kordofan, and Khartoum, Over 10,000 schools have been forced to shut down. As the conflict continues, the future of these children remains in jeopardy, deepening the educational and humanitarian crisis in the country. Similarly, in Ukraine, the ongoing conflict has inflicted severe damage on its educational system. Schools and universities have been targeted, and countless children have been displaced or have lost their lives. The education sector in Ukraine has been heavily impacted by the destruction of infrastructure. Ukrainian children, like millions affected by conflict around the world, had their dreams shaped by fear and uncertainty. They now long for peace, a return to their classrooms, and a brighter future. The international community is needed to protect these educational institutions and ensure that students can safely continue their studies. The stories of the students we just watched in the video reflected the experiences of countless children whose education has been disrupted by war and conflict. As the new academic year begins, while some children return to their classrooms, thousands more are seeking refuge in schools in Gaza, Sudan, Ukraine, Syria, Myanmar, Congo, and beyond. We must not allow these attacks on education to go unpunished. Without accountability, we cannot hope to protect education from further assault. The protection of education is not merely about making a day on the calendar. It is a call for action. We call for action from all states to safeguard, protect, respect, and promote the right to education even in times of armed conflict. I will conclude by paying a special tribute to every teacher who continues to risk their lives to educate children in spite of the dire circumstances they face, and to those who have lost their lives in the service of humanity. On this International Day to protect education from attack, we honor the sacrifices made by these teachers and educators, and we pledge to preserve their memory for generations to come. Thank you very much.